Braden and I are always talking to you about securing your retirement and building your retirement so that you can be comfortable. But something that's equally important is being happy in retirement. And well, how do you do that? Well, today we talked to Tia Graham, who is a happiness expert. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a good question because I had no idea what it meant. But we met her, and in conversation and looking at what she does, she goes in and she works with individuals, she works with companies, all about how to be happy. And we know that that's extremely important. People want to be happy. This past year has made it difficult for us to be happy. So we thought this would be a great interview. And we will tell you that it was. I think it's going to be a great resource for you to go and check things out. We certainly appreciate you being with us today. We ask, if at all possible, if you've not been able to do this yet, please go to wherever you are listening. And if you don't mind, give us a 5-star rating and then write us a review. It certainly does benefit the show and helps us to be able to get good feedback from you. But for today, we want you to be happy. So enjoy the interview with Tia Graham. All right. Well, we are happy to have you with us today for our we feel that this is going to be a very, very nice interview. We've got Tia Graham, and she has, I think, a very, very unique approach to what she does within her business. She has a business that's called Arrive at Happy. And, you know, you might think, well, yeah, we all want to be happy, but yet we all have these things that might be happening in life that prevents us from being happy. 2020 could have given us many reasons that we would have struggled for happiness, but this is nice for us because Tia is an expert in us being able to stay and be happy. So Tia, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today and letting us ask you about how to be happy.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, good. Well, let's get started. Could you give us just a brief description of what your background is, how you got to this idea or world of trying to make people happy?
Yes, absolutely. So my background is in luxury hospitality. I led sales and marketing teams in the Hawaiian Islands, New York City, Istanbul, Turkey, and Los Angeles, and had a great career. I really, really enjoyed the hospitality industry. I was throughout my career, whether it be hotel owners or general managers, clients, my sales team would ask how I stayed so happy and positive and optimistic. And so I really reflected on all of that feedback and thought, I believe I can help other leaders and people become happier. I believe that this is within me. And so in 2017, I created this company while I was working at a hotel in Los Angeles and discovered through research positive psychology, which is the science of happiness, and thought, wow, how do I not know about this? This is incredible. And really started researching. I became certified as a coach, a leadership coach. I got multiple certifications from Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar from Harvard, who taught happiness at Harvard for years. And so really got a lot of information on positive psychology, dove into neuroscience and how our brain can help us become more happy or less happy. And also was very interested in employee happiness and corporate happiness. And so became certified as a chief happiness officer in Denmark by a company that has been doing global corporate happiness work for over 15 years. And the Scandinavians are a lot happier than in general than people in North America. So I wanted to go over to Denmark and understand what do they do in companies, so, you know, to make people so happy while they're working. And I started with working with clients one-on-one, and then started going into companies and organizations and doing workshops and executive retreats and, you know, leadership masterclass series, et cetera, and keynote talks, and have built this company, you know, to try and bring all of the information that I have accumulated and keep learning about to as many people as possible, and help companies grow by having happy employees, which of course is going to affect their bottom line in a very positive way.
Tia, that is awesome. Thank you once again for joining us, and thank you for that background there. I know, like Raiden said, we could all use some of the positivity that you're already bringing to the table in 2021. So I appreciate that. So kudos to you for, going from the corporate world, but seeing this void that's out there of, I feel like I can bring this into the world, which is Arrive at Happy. So can you tell us a little bit about the background of Arrive at Happy and the philosophy behind what you have created?
Yes. So really my philosophy is that people, leaders, executives, managers, employees, all working people should prioritize their own well-being and their own happiness. It should be very important to the individual. And it also should be very, very important to leaders. If you're a leader of a team of 5 or a team of 5,000, it is a responsibility. It is an honor to have that position, and how people are feeling when they're working is your responsibility. And the research from Harvard and Yale and other universities has shown that there's a direct connection between happiness and success. Our brain operates differently when we are positive versus feeling neutral or negative. We are more productive, we're more engaged, we sell more, we treat our customers differently, and so on. And so the philosophy is that I, there are some leaders that say, does happiness really belong in the workplace? And I respond with a resounding yes, absolutely yes. And there are so many positive, in addition to being great for business and helping businesses make more money and increase market share, happiness makes us healthier. It affects our immune system. And, I work, 99% of what I do is working with adults. I do a little bit with children, but, the ripple effects of our emotions at work and at home, you have someone who's really unhappy at work, they're going to bring that home to their children and to their families. And what is that ripple effect? So I see it as positively affecting communities, going at it through companies, but the ripple effect is really through communities. So I hope I answered your question.
No, that was
Yeah, you did. And I was just going to add to that, I, before I started working with Radin at Peace of Mind Wealth Management, it's very easy to fall into a job where, you kind of feel like, well, I don't know if a job is ever supposed to be something that I really enjoy. It's just what you do to get the bills paid. And then, there are avenues that happen or things that happen to where you do find a job that you like, or the executives within the company actually take a role in saying, well, we got to make our employees happier. And I think there is a big push towards that over the past, 5 to 10 years, about making everyone happier, because they have seen what you just mentioned, which is it does help their bottom line at the end of the day. If you have people that are happy to work for you, then they're going to do good work. So I completely agree with what you just said. My wife works in that world of health and wellness as well. And so she is completely behind everything you've said too.
So are you saying, Merce, that basically I'm a natural happy person and I make this place happy for you?
Yeah, 10 years into working with you, we have found that there's happiness at Peace of Mind Wealth Management.
Well, just the name of your company, and I will say there is exactly what you said, the perception that you are not supposed to be happy while you work. You work so that you can be happy on the weekends or on your 2 or 3 weeks of vacation. That's exactly why I'm doing the work to change. Like, no, you have this life, and you can absolutely be very happy while you're working.
Yeah, good. So I was looking around on your website and I saw there's a place there where in all essence, people have been to one of your Arrive at Happy retreats, and they were giving feedback on the benefit that they got out of that. Could you kind of give us a picture of like what a retreat like that would look like, or kind of maybe even how you work with a company? Like, what does that structure look like so we could kind of visualize that?
Sure. So in terms of a retreat, so there was one that I did before the pandemic, of course, in Malibu, and there was 18 executives from all different industries who came. And for 2 days, I it was very interactive experience, but I gave them strategies and practical tools to increase their well-being. And what I teach is not how to have pleasure boosts and so you feel great for, you know, a quarter or a few months. It's how to increase your baseline, right? Is what I teach. And so it's a combination of positive psychology and neuroscience. I did incorporate some wellness as well. There was yoga and breath work and of course healthy food. And we're in this gorgeous location, this ranch in Malibu. But really it was a boot camp, if you will, for 2 days of information on how to increase your well-being so that you're a better leader, you know, when you go back to work. In terms of companies, I work with companies in a variety of ways. I really personalize and customize the work and the experiences to the organization. And usually it's a combination of giving leaders tools so that they can be happy and well. And then also that second pillar of what they can do to create more of an engaging, happy culture. And I do that through executive retreats, leadership masterclasses, team workshops, and give them as much information as they can so that they can create a more elevated, you know, happy culture.
So someone goes to one of these boot camps, like you call it, and Malibu, I think, is a great destination because it's, I imagine, I've never been, but I imagine it's hard to be not happy in Malibu.
Malibu's great.
So you've already kind of got them at 100, and then you just take them a little bit further. But you give them these tools, and then they kind of go back. And part of this is they have to do the work, right? They have to actually apply what they have learned. So what type of feedback do you get as far as, you know, like, do they come back to you and say, well, this worked tremendously, or, you know, one thing that I implemented at work personally? What type of feedback are you getting from people that attend your workshops?
Yes. So I consistently get feedback right after, and for example, I did one yesterday for 80 female entrepreneurs. So during the experience and right after the experience, there is a huge surge of inspiration and hope and awareness of, wow, I am actually the driver of my own happiness. It's not just my genetics and my life circumstances, and I am, you know, in this passenger seat of life. It's that there's a lot that's within my control. And that gives people a lot of motivation to reassess their own happiness, both in their work and their professional. So I would say that's the immediate, that they have this surge of inspiration. And then, so I work with some people ongoing, like for 6 months or 12 months, and actually work with them through transformation. For people who, for example, who attended the retreat, I'm still in touch with all of them, and I regularly get updates saying, I'm still using this, or I just implemented this, because I like to say that I'm a practitioner. I'm a happiness practitioner. So I take all of the information coming from the different universities and the researchers, and I make it very practical for them. You know, here's this study on X, Y, and Z, but how can you actually incorporate this into your life? And happiness is also very personal. So people will take different parts of what I teach, and some information will resonate more with certain people, and they will take that piece and run with it, depending on what's going on in their career, what's going on in their life.
So who Merce and I work with for our clientele, and a lot of the people who would be listening to this, they're in a couple of different phases. We've got folks that are getting ready to get down. We call it close to retirement, when that's about 10 years out. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of trying to wrap things up and get themselves ready to go. And either, you know, if they're working for somebody and they're an executive and they're trying to make sure they've got everything lined up so they get their exit, I guess, out of their current position into retirement. Then we got some folks that are already retired or just newly retired. Now, one of the things that we have that we see is that when somebody's gone for 30 something years working for somebody and having a team that they're leading, and they've got people that are relying on them, and that's a big driving force for them, they're leaders, and then they get close to retirement or in retirement, all of a sudden that's gone. I will tell you that we have clients that they deal with, that can bring on depression or bring on unhappiness. Is there anything you could help maybe share with us just on that idea, whether you're getting ready for, kind of like getting yourself prepped so you don't go down like that, maybe kind of keep yourself in a happier state? Anything that you could help us with that as we think that through?
Yes, absolutely. And although I'm not retired yet, I'm such a busy bee type of person, so I can absolutely relate to that feeling and that anticipatory feeling. My advice I'll think of the two different stages. So for the stage that's maybe within 10 years and you're thinking about it, is work, and especially in a leadership position, gives you a lot of purpose, gives you a lot of meaning, especially when you're leading people, right? And the work that you're doing. And so I would think about how do you want to spend your time when you go through this transition, and a lot of happiness, a lot of well-being comes from serving and helping others. And so whether you want to continue in a leadership role, maybe not 40 hours or 80 hours a week, but maybe you want to get involved with a community nonprofit or something that you're interested in so that you can continue working with a team of people and having purpose and meaning. So I would say serving as well as feeling like your life has purpose and meaning. That's one. The second would be our intellectual well-being, our intellectual happiness. So you have been working, you're, in this career, and now you're going to be transitioning. Is there something that you want to learn? Is there a way that you want to grow professionally or personally, and really think about what you're passionate about? And, I know people that go back to school or take classes, or maybe all of a sudden are learning an instrument or a new language, but learning is proven to make adults happier. And when we're working, maybe we're not necessarily learning as much. So that would be another area to look at. A third would be in terms of relationships, relational well-being. As you're moving more into retirement, you will have more time for personal relationships. And so whether that be more time with your nuclear, your extended family, your friendships, you could also look at, mentoring and finding people that you can help that are a lot farther behind in terms of their career. And that is going to bring you a lot of happiness. Also you're going to have more time for taking care, I would assume, of your physical body, right? So looking at, do you want to try new ways of exercise? I don't know. I've never rock climbed. I don't know if you want to do that when you're older, but as an example, right? How can you exercise, and being outside is one of the pillars of happiness. So looking at that, those are a few off the top of my head. And the last I will say is knowing that there are going to be different emotions. You might have a sense of loss during this transition of, oh, wow, I've just given 30 years and now I'm transitioning. A sense of maybe anxiety also of what is this new life going to look like? Or anxiety of, wow, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with my spouse. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of different emotions. And knowing that all of those emotions are completely normal. And I would say if someone is feeling depressed, is feeling like they're down, to absolutely, talk to someone about it, whether that be someone in your community, a friend or family, a therapist, a coach. But all of the research has shown that when you are having those painful emotions, talking about it and journaling about it is proven to is to help you on the journey to go back to feeling better.
Yeah, it's just like in what we do, which is we are financial planners. We work with people close to already in retirement, and we have so many different personalities when it comes to their risk tolerance and how they want to invest versus how another family wants to invest. And so it's kind of, being happy, it's different for different people, right? So we spoke to a client, I believe just the other day, and he was telling us about how he just signed up for his a semester of education with the state, the local community, or the local university here, and they have a whole program for seniors. And we're like, well, what classes are you taking? And he's in his mid 70s, right? And so he tells us about the curriculum that he's taking, and it's like microbiology and genetics and stuff that I would never dream of, because for me, education was, well, let's get through it so I can get on into the working world. But for him, he's like, this is what makes me happy, and I'm going to continue doing it for a couple reasons. It gets me out of the house, it keeps my brain sharp, and I enjoy this stuff. So it's amazing how different it is for some people. But to switch topics a little bit, so we've got our clientele who's pretty much in that 50 plus arena. They've kind of already figured out the whole parenting aspect of their lives, but they have their kids who are having kids. So they have their kids who are becoming moms. And there's a section of what you talk about is happy working moms. So me personally, my wife and I, we just had our first child back in March. And so he's 9 months now. And the transition of having a kid, and also my wife works as well, and she works way harder than I do, it seems like at times. And she also manages everything that comes with being a brand new mom. So what do you have to speak to that? So not necessarily directed to our clientele, but they've got kids that they could pass this along to as well, that are brand new moms in this world.
Yes, thank you for asking. So I became a parent 6.5 years ago, and it was the biggest adjustment that I've had big adjustments in my life that I have ever experienced. And it really put my own happiness and well-being to the test of balancing, juggling all of the different aspects of life, of having an executive career and then young children as well. And of course, you're sleep deprived and when they're young. So the energy, and you can see if you agree in this, but I believe that the energy of the mom in the house is really, really important, right? If the working mom, either parent, is really, really stressed and upset and angry and so on, there's a ripple effect to the whole family, and then possibly to employees as well. So I'm very, very passionate about bringing all of the different topics that I have learned from positive psychology and from happiness experts, including people like the Dalai Lama, to working moms. And a lot of times working moms will put everyone else first and make sure everyone else is well, including people in their companies and family, etc. And then they are depleted. And what I teach is to flip that around and make sure that you are full and well, so that you have more to give to all the people that you're caring for and or leading. So topics such as presence and mindfulness, bringing, topics like forgiveness or positive leadership or goal setting, etc. So twice a month, I will lead a group and have a different topic, and have them also talk to each other, because there's a lot of similarities and experiences, even if you're working in different industries, that executive moms face. So for the listeners who have sons and daughters that are young parents, I would suggest to of course, check in with them and see how they're doing, and then offer resources. One just off the top of my head is Yale University has a free happiness class online. It's the course that's taught at Yale, and anyone right now can go and take that class. And so that will give working parents a huge toolbox of tools that they can use and implement immediately to increase their well-being at home and at work.
Yeah, and then you can say you took a class at Yale.
There you go. Another bonus.
Yeah. Well, very nice. Now, you mentioned earlier that a bulk of what you do is you work with, businesses and leaders within different industries. How is it? How would you describe what you do? How that supports, operations or sales, or how you partner with companies? Like, what does that look like? What is that relationship?
Yes. So companies, I work a lot within companies within the travel industry because of my background, and then also other industries as well. But it starts off with a assessment of what is working and where the challenges are within the organization, I talk about, find information out about the culture as well as the business results. So that's sort of the first step. And then based on everything, I work a lot with sales leaders or HR leaders. And once I get all of that information, I will then create a series of experiences based on their needs. And it's usually a combination of master classes for the leaders and then experiences for the entire team as well. And specifically for sales, it's really about helping sales leaders and sales professionals have a positive mindset so that they can sell more, and also what they can do to make their customers happier and more loyal to the organization. So that's sort of specific to the sales division. And then for operations, it's really how to show up as this optimistic, positive leader for your teams so that you can move the business forward, and then giving everyone throughout the organization tools that they can stay well and sustain happiness while they're working, and giving them a new perspective that work can be a source of joy and be a source of excitement, not just a place where you go collect a paycheck.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't mind showing up to work one bit at all. And so I think it'd be good if everyone has that mindset in their head, and if they find a way to do that, either through your help or other ways. But I think we are just about done. But before we go, Tia, if you could, once again, thank you for joining us. But if someone was to listen to this podcast and they're interested in everything you're saying, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you to learn more about what you do?
Yes, I would say go to my website, arriveathappy.com. All the information's there, including my contact information.
Very nice. Well, it's been an extremely interesting conversation. We always want to be happy, so that's a great business that and counsel that you give us, and so we appreciate it very much. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.